Well, that's it. Real Madrid couldn't have hit rock bottom in a more spectacular way. Not just today. Today is today is the cherry on top, the final touch. This is something that, as I mentioned in the previous video, has been developing for a while now, and these are the consequences. Valverde's medical report. Is there a statement from Real Madrid? I noticed it was missing this afternoon, for quite a while this afternoon. This was, well, I don't know, between 9 and 9:30 at night. And immediately Valverde's medical report that he will miss the Clásico and, interestingly, this time Real Madrid. Well, yes, they do give a recovery time. There's an explanation for that too, but still, it catches our attention. Anyway, let's go step by step. The statement, Real Madrid says, okay, by the way, on Marca, they were saying tough statement from Real Madrid. And honestly, to me, this just seems, well, obvious, right? I mean, let's see what they say. They announced that after the events that took place this morning during the first team's training, they have decided to open disciplinary proceedings against our players Federico Valverde and Aurelian Tchouameni. The club will inform in due course of the resolutions of both cases once the corresponding internal procedures have been completed. All right, well, for those who, even this afternoon, there were still people saying that the journalists were making things up, man, and you think, come on now, let's not go full Barcelona here. The club is already going full Barcelona enough, okay? To the point of almost, except for paying the second in command of the referees for 2 decades. Of course, that's a big deal, right? From the cheating those crooks have done for so long, or registering players after the deadline with fake money, which is already a lot, right? In everything else, the club lately, oh my God. And the fans, I mean, I have to read things like, they're lying, they're stirring up trouble. And now on top of that, they're blaming us YouTubers too, those of us who make Real Madrid content on this platform, saying we want bad things for Madrid. Hey, look, sorry. We've been saying this since January. There were people here who would come in to watch me and others too, and if they didn't like what we were saying, they'd leave and cancel their subscription. Fantastic. They told me that if I say what Angulo says anyway, it's clear that he says some things that I would never say during all this time. But we agreed because I don't agree with Iñaki, Angulo, and others, and with Quilo himself and Ramon himself on many things. Everyone here has their own opinion because, of course, they always label you and put you on one side, right? But there was one thing that was basic. And look, with Quique Recio too, who collaborates on this channel, with Quique Recio from Madridismo al Día, we agreed in January on the decision to fire Xavi Alonso and things that were happening inside the club. And what about the nutritionist? And a series of situations there that spoke to us of a clear dysfunction in the club. They were a cause for alarm at Real Madrid. Others said we were just causing trouble for the club, but how can you do this? Honestly, did you really think Pintos and Arbeloa would fix this? They're both great professionals. Pintos and Arbeloa, but they can't fix it. And there was a man here, Florentino Pérez, who made a diagnosis of the situation that was wrong and is still wrong. And if he doesn't realize what's happening, we're going to have the same summer as the last few summers and the same year next year as we've had in the last few years. Because if you don't really know what the problem is, you're not going to do much surgery there. I hope what happened today has opened his eyes, but well, that's the statement from Real Madrid. They let us know. This is what they should have done back in the day when a guy fell asleep during a technical talk, when that same guy who is Vinicius, but as if it had been anyone else. I don't care, I don't care if his name is Vinicius or if his name is Frank Garcia. I don't care. Still, he publicly criticized the gesture in a pretty angry and harsh way. Do you compare his coach's substitution to Dembele leaving in the 65th minute yesterday because Luis Enrique was frustrated watching him? And that's something he usually does because Dembele said recently, if you don't run, Luis Enrique won't play you or he'll put you on the bench. And yesterday he did just that. He didn't like how Dembele was doing when it came to running and defending and all that. And he said, off you go, minute 65 to the Ballon d'Or winner. And the kid left, applauding the fans, encouraging his teammates, and shaking hands with his coach. What a difference compared to what Vinicius did back in the day with Xavi Alonso. And now you might say, here we go again with Vinicius. Well, yes, with Vinicius and with Mbappe. And with Mbappe, who has put the club in a shameful standoff, which should earn Mbappe another sanction, another disciplinary action. Vinicius should have been sanctioned that day, but wasn't. So what do the players do? What did they understand? Damn. Here you can do anything if they don't sanction this guy. He apologizes to everyone except his coach. He gives him that unpleasant snub. Damn, you can do this to Xavi. That's why there were players there. And now let's get to what they said. This guy is cannon fodder. We'll get rid of him soon. Of course, and there were several of them. And indeed, they got rid of him because Florentino Pérez decided to support the player more than his coach. There was no disciplinary action against Vinicius. Here, Vinicius' statement was enough. And in it, he didn't apologize to his coach. And the club thought it was fine, just like they thought Mbappe's vacation during the May Day holiday was fine, which is absolutely unjustifiable, even if he was injured. Well, in that environment, the players believe they can do whatever they want. So, is that why the team captain, along with Carvajal, because is Carvajal going to leave Real Madrid? And will this guy end up with the captain's armband? And he's not ready, not even psychologically, especially psychologically or in many other ways. And I love Valverde as a footballer. I think there will be, well, he's focused. He's given us a lot of joy, but he's not ready to be captain. To be captain, you have to turn the stone better. You need to have something else. You have to, I don't want to say things I'll regret later, but you get me. It's just that with Bueno, well, I'm not going to say things I might regret later, but Valverde can't be captain. It's just that, among other things, when Madrid resolves this issue, they should take away his captaincy. And watch out this summer. They'll let us know that Valverde is done at Real Madrid. I wouldn't say that. I don't think these two players will be put on the market because honestly and objectively, we really need both Tchouaméni and Valverde. But what happened today was huge. It was really huge. That's why in a club where all that happens, the captain says, oh, well, I can do it, because apparently that's how it went. The training starts. Apparently there's tension between the two, so it's not like they made up yesterday. There are things being said from Valverde's circle, like the situation is really bad, like it's being whitewashed about what happened. Amen? And like he offered his hand and all that, and that it's not true. We'll get to that now. But the fact is that during the match, well, Valverde made a tackle on me. I don't even think he touched the ball, which in a match wouldn't have been a foul, but it was too much for a training session. And it's like yesterday because there was also a bit of tension there during training. And according to what they say, it was more from Valverde towards Tchouaméni than the other way around. Que al revés. Entonces, pues bueno, Tchouaméni calls him out, says something like, what's your problem? And when they get to the locker room, things heat up again. They get in each other's faces. Apparently there were already punches thrown, which didn't happen yesterday. And in one of those moments, Valverde slips and hits himself on a table that's in the locker room. He got the cut right where the hairline starts. And apparently he was half unconscious. I mean, Valverde didn't remember anything that had happened. And the Real Madrid medical staff examined him and then took him to the Sanitas clinic that's in Valdebebas. It's right next door. It only takes 3 minutes to get there. And then he came back there with quite a scene going on. Mina Bonino was there. I think De Marque was there. Wait, because De Marque was there at that moment. Live, Adrian Fus was there. And this was, let me see if I can find it. This was the moment. Here is Mbappe laughing. Wow, I thought I had caught him. Well, the thing is that he showed up there. They'll let us know. They'll let us know. They'll let us know. In my husband's head. Let's see what happens here. But anyway, what Madrid has said is that after the test carried out today on our player Fede Valverde by Real Madrid's medical staff, he has been diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. Valverde is at home in good condition and will have to rest for between 10 and 14 days, as indicated by the medical protocols for this diagnosis. It's striking that in Madrid there are never any time frames, but here there are, although it's true that this is due to these medical trauma protocols. They will inform us, they will let us know. They will let us know. Yes. De baja o en reposo. They will let us know. But Valverde ya no juega. They'll let us know. Is that right? And we've lost one of the best soccer players we have for the match against Barca. The league isn't mathematically decided, but the match is important. The match is important. We don't want to make a fool of ourselves, and we're not going to throw Valverde out. Unbelievable. Tchouaméni will play even though a disciplinary file has been opened against him because there's no suspension here, no pay cut. But anyway. And who caused it? Another Real Madrid player. Seriously? When the captain should be calming things down, when the captain should be keeping cool, and yet you see this, right? One fight, two fights, yesterday and today. And from what they're saying, it was partly down to his habit of going in hard in training in the lead up to the Clásico. You just think, damn, how clueless can you be? Seriously. Anyway, look, it all comes from this. They're saying on Onda Cero that things have been very complicated between the two for a few months because he fired men and he was one of those who defended Sabia, Alonso, and Valverde. We already know that's not the case. That's what I was referring to earlier. We'll get to that topic later because, of course, you already know that there were some here who couldn't stand them. Alonso was there. It wasn't him. Vinicius could have been there too, despite claims he wasn't. Let's put Bellingham as a maybe, but we have no doubt that Valverde was against Xabi Alonso, right? Among other things, do you remember that day when he had to warm up over there near China at the end of the world from what? The match we had to go play over there in Kazakhstan and he started walking. It was just embarrassing. In a year when Valverde played an amazing match against Manchester City and scored 3 goals, it's been wildly up and down, the most extreme I've ever seen. And it's been very good, and it's been very good. It's been very and very good, and it's been very good. And it's been the armband, Real Madrid. We're not talking about minor things here. I mean youth, because when Carvajal leaves, it's going to be him. Well, anyway, that's it. The international press already well. The image of Real Madrid internationally, a lot, really a lot, huh? Well, Florentino should know that granting these privileges to the squad, not the whole squad, but certain players in the squad. And this disorder and lack of control in Madrid and not giving power to the coach and not respecting the hierarchies, this is what it leads to. This is the result. And the result is international discredit. Maybe he'll consider it next time. If Florentino can't change the situation, I haven't said this before, even when they wanted to remove him and chanted Florentino resign, I didn't agree with that. Look, they were asking for something I wasn't, for example, and people say it's the same. Look, I already have enough with my own stuff. I can't even watch other people's videos anymore because I just don't have the time. But anyway, it was striking because he wasn't the only one, right? Iñaki, others were calling for Florentino's resignation. Half the Bernabeu or a quarter of the stadium was shouting it, right? It never seemed that way to me, but I'll tell you something. If this summer Florentino can't turn things around, I mean, if he can't change this from top to bottom, and it's necessary because you have to make drastic cuts here. We'll see if just a Mourinho is enough. Well, sorry, Florentino should step aside. Damn, this can't go on, man. This can't go on. And well, that's how things are. Fede Valverde's camp says Tchouaméni's behavior is being whitewashed. They deny the Frenchman wanted to shake hands with the Uruguayan, claiming he actually wanted to continue their fight from the day before. That's what Fede Valverde's circle is saying. Of course, this has another very tricky consequence. If these two players stay, and look, they're both great, and I'd like them to stay at Real Madrid for sporting reasons, these two guys are going to hold a grudge against each other unless they really make peace. Guys are simpler about that kind of thing and all. It's true. Don't get me wrong about what I'm going to say because it's just a fact, right? Among women, these things are much more complicated, you know? This is like, well, they hold a grudge for the rest of their lives. Among men, maybe because we're simpler or whatever, it's just, well, water under the bridge. Remember, Michel and Hugo Sanchez, actually, they wouldn't even speak to each other. They had a really bad relationship. I don't know how it is nowadays, but back then it wasn't a good relationship. Hey, but Michel gave Hugo Sanchez 118,000 passes so he could score goals. Michel's assists to Hugo Sanchez were the most common thing in that Real Madrid. What happens is that it's hard for both of them to keep things going, especially because now Fede Valverde's circle is saying, this reminds me of the Baena thing. Damn, it's just very hard for these two guys to stay at Madrid and for nothing to happen. I mean, the situation, look, Valverde denies in a statement that Tchouaméni hit him. Hold on a second because it just came in right now, okay? Right now, an urgent report from the Copy Network is saying Valverde, apparently, in a statement. Well, I'm going to look for Valverde's statement. Damn. This is what happens when you have to do this almost live. It's true that the cut was caused by a hit, right? But wait, let's look up Fede Valverde here and maybe... because apparently this just happened. Let's see. let's see. This is from February 26th, right? So he must have done it on Instagram, right? He must have done it on Instagram. Well, anyway, I'll check it later and we'll find out there. But anyway, apparently this wasn't a hit by Tchouaméni. Look, when entering the locker room, the thing is that nobody is really saying what happened, whether there was a hit by Tchouaméni or not. There could have been a shove, a face-off, or maybe they butted heads or something like that. That could have happened, and maybe he slipped. But anyway, give me a second. Damn. I'm going to look for it here so I don't have to cut the video and edit it, so it takes me a bit longer, but I'll look for it on Instagram since I can't show it here. Fede Valverde. All right, let's see what he says. The ones from today, the ones from today, the ones from today. No, this is from April. Damn, man, come on. Now, here. Damn. Yesterday, I had an incident with a teammate, he says. As a result of a play during training where the fatigue from the competition and frustration make everything seem bigger. In a normal locker room, these things can happen. I have to make it a bit bigger, man, because this is really small. He says where things can happen. And we settle them among ourselves without it coming to light. Obviously, here there's someone behind it who is quick to spread the story. Added to a season without titles where Madrid is always in the spotlight and everything gets blown out of proportion. Today we had another disagreement. During the argument, I accidentally hit a table, giving myself a small cut on the forehead that required a routine visit to the hospital. At no point did my teammate hit me, and I didn't hit him either, although I understand it's easier for you to believe that we got into a fist fight. You think those are words to use in a statement or that it was intentional, but that didn't happen. I feel that my anger with the situation, my frustration at seeing that some of us are reaching the end of the season with our last bit of strength, giving it our all. It got to the point where I ended up arguing with a teammate. Now he's covering it up by saying we're just tense. I'm sorry, I truly am, because this situation hurts me. The moment we're going through hurts me. Madrid is one of the most important things in my life, and I can't be indifferent. The result is a buildup of things that lead to a harmful, pointless fight. It's also misspelled. It says perjudicando with an accent on A and V. Damaging my image. He should have a press officer. Well, his wife is a journalist, guys. Correct him. It's not a big deal, but still. Giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's making it up. They slander and add spice to an accident, but I have no doubt that any friction we might have off the field disappears once we're on it. And if I have to defend him inside a stadium, I'll be the first to do so. I plan to stay silent until the season ended, but after we were eliminated from the Champions League, I kept my anger and resentment inside. We've wasted another year, and I wasn't motivated to do anything. No social media posts since the field was the only place I needed to show my face, and I feel that's what I did. That's why I'm the one who feels the saddest, who is most upset about going through this situation that keeps me from playing the next match because of medical decisions, because I always went until the end. Until the very end, and it hurts me more than anyone not to be able to do it. I'm available to the club and my teammates to help in any way they think is necessary. Oh my God. Well, the thing is that today we have another disagreement. During the argument, I accidentally hit myself with a table, causing a small cut on my forehead that required, you hit yourself with a table, but what? You head-butted the table, and how high was the table? It just sounds really strange. And then he says they're making it up. Well, look, man, it's normal to think that if yesterday you had a run-in with a teammate and Tchouaméni doesn't even mention him, and today you have another one and you fall and get a cut, it's normal to think you ran into him. That's normal. But, well, man, anyway, I just... Well, a pretty unfortunate statement. Sorry, I didn't put it on the screen, but I read it. Anyway, but it's pretty unfortunate. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great day. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and that's it. We're acting like Barcelona beyond our means. We're a circus. Still Madrid always. All right, bye.